Expected is this, if at all, Sarah?
I do think that it does throw a bit of a wrinkle into the talks between the U.S. and China right now. We're hearing from our sources that China has come back to the U.S., and it seems to be backpedaling a bit on some of the commitments that it's made. Of course, the U.S. and China now are at a stage in the negotiations that some of their promises and pledges and some of the things they're working towards are written down on paper. And so there's a bit of an understanding in the absence of an actual trade deal being signed of where they're headed. And of course, China now backpedaling on some of its promises over IP, which is at the core of U.S. concerns, will definitely, it won't be taken lightly by the USTR and could definitely delay talks further.
Sarah, why are we getting a slightly different message from the Lighthizer team? I'm just reading the story that has just dropped on the Bloomberg, saying that basically a person close to Ambassador Lighthizer denied that Chinese officials have backed away from previous pledges. Are we getting the administration on the same page here?
Yes, I mean, I think as you can imagine in any negotiation, no side is going to show their hand. Of course, there's going to be resistance and they're going to play out their strategies. And so we are hearing a caveat, as was said, that, this is part of the back and forth of negotiations, that, of course, one side might appear to be very much into a certain demand and that then they sort of take that off the table a little bit to gain some leverage. And so, there's a little bit of a show that also takes place here. But as we do know it right now, China is actually walking back on some things it had promised over data protection for pharmaceuticals and a host of other issues. And that, of course, is going to be alarming for the U.S., who's really trying to get a deal within weeks. We have Donald Trump trying to boost his chances of re-election, and a trade deal with China would be a great thing to tout on the campaign trail.
Well, and in fact, we are seeing a major market reaction now. The Australian dollar has dropped quite substantially, down about 0.2% versus the US dollar. And you can see Caterpillar has erased all of its gains and is now negative. Also, the major indices are erasing their gains, still a little higher, but the Dow is just fractionally higher at this point. So it's a blip. Is it more than that, Sarah? Is this slowing of negotiations on the part of China more than just a tactic?
In the recent weeks, the Trump administration has really tried to paint a picture of progress, of at least moving the ball forward. They haven't really talked about a breakdown. And I think that this changes that narrative a little bit. It shows that behind the scenes, there are tough issues and that China's coming back a little bit hard, pushing back on what the U.S. sees are core demands, things that it says it has to get done, changes to China's intellectual property practices, forced technology transfers. And this might not be a slam dunk for the U.S., and it might not be something they can agree to in the next few weeks.
OK, picking up on that, Sarah, do we see any changes in the timeline surrounding a possible Trump-Xi meeting?
So the latest that we've heard from our sources is that, end of April is the earliest possible date that Trump and Xi can meet at this point. The Chinese president, what we heard from officials there, he doesn't want to come to the U.S. or he doesn't want to have a signing ceremony wherever it is with Trump without a deal finalized. He doesn't want to risk Trump in a showmanship sort of act walking out if they haven't agreed to every detail of a deal. And so, I think what we've learned today, what this story shows, is that, they're still far apart on the issues. And to think that they can get a deal in the next few weeks when there's a bit of backtracking going on right now seems a little pie in the sky.